we're going to bring this meeting to order. We'll do a call to order and determination of a quorum. You're going to do a roll call?
Chair Green.
Here?
Vice Chair Beamer.
Here.
Member Evans.
Here.
Member
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Member Thompson. A quorum's present.
Thank you. Let's stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now we're up to item number 3, public comment. Public is invited at this time to comment on or discuss any topic that is relevant or within the authority of the Carson City Advisory Board to manage wildlife. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda. Do we have any public? I see one out there.
We do. Kevin C.K. Bailey, for the record, Carson City. Question, and I believe this is certainly not on the agenda. Any word on if Hobart is open finally? No.
It's not.
Okay, it's,
If I may, Mr. Chair. So it is not open yet.
okay,
They have not got any even insight as to when they're going to open due to some infrastructure issues that they are working on. So as of, I think
structure issues.
it was as of about 3 weeks ago, they still had rushing water coming down the road and which was eroding the road. And so the gal who's over Parks, which I always forget her name, she
Ann Bollinger, I believe.
yeah, Bollinger. She is the one who pretty much just said that they don't know when they're going to be able to shore it up and make it safe for people to actually travel up that road. So it's kind of a downer for us because, and I did reiterate to her that how important that that water resource is to sportsmen, not just here in Carson City and in Carson Valley, but all over the state and even from other states, right? People come from all over the place to fish that and use that water. And she, of course, understands that things are out of her control. So, but as of 3 weeks ago, there was no determination of whether or not there was going to be able to, it was even going to be able to be open anytime soon.
Okay, dovetailing into that, Board Member Beamer, Marlette is obviously on about the same elevation. So the news on that is probably about equal.
Well, I mean, you can, so in the spirit of full disclosure here, I mean, it's the waters aren't closed off. It's just the access point
Trying to get to
through
it.
Ash Canyon is not open right now. So those that want to use that resource, those resources, certainly can come up from Spooner Summit and hike in there, or take the flume from where Ponderosa's at, right there at the bottom, kind of just south of Ponderosa, on 28 by San Harbor, and come up that way. It's a little bit steeper, kind of a climb, but once you get up there, then it's a short jaunt right to both those waters. So,
Well, I was wondering it in two ways, is because we're also, there's also going to be an egg take potentially up at Marlette. And so that's why I brought Marlette into it. Wondering if that might happen too, or if that's going to be delayed and it's not going to make an egg take occur.
so my understanding is they're going to move forward with that. All that personnel typically and the volunteers typically use the Marlette watershed road that goes in there, which is closed off to the public for vehicle traffic. It's not an access point, but they typically use that anyway. So I don't see there being an issue there. And the last I had heard, they were actually calling for volunteers. Nevada Department of Wildlife was calling for volunteers for that. So that was about about 3-4 weeks ago as well. So,
Okay, very good.
yeah.
I'll find out when the egg take is. That's always a fun deal.
Great time if
That's
you've
always a
never done
good
it.
time up there. Thank you very much.
Bet.
Thank you very much. I was under the impression that was 6 weeks ago, it was going to be open within a couple of weeks. So it was, and I know people are bicycling up there,
Yeah.
but I haven't talked to anybody that's even tried to drive up, so.
I
that's-
heard just through the grapevine that that it was starting to break open on the water, that there were areas that were quote-unquote fishable, but that it was still iced over for the most part.
The
That's-
lake's completely open.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, there's no ice up there or anything. It's thawed out pretty much.
Fantastic.
And
Okay,
you can
so-
get in there for sure, but
So egg take is going to be pretty soon after that. Fantastic. Thank you very much for the
that was,
info.
and just for the record, those are reports that I got from the public that has hiked up there and mountain biked up there, that they said, no, the water's open. It's just the road that's pretty trash going in there, so.
That's an exciting road up to Marlette, yeah.
I was surprised. I was up at Caples last week, and probably 80% of it's still iced over.
Really?
Yeah, I was really surprised. It's very little of it's navigable in a boat.
Well, okay, to make a long story terribly longer, and I apologize for it, going down to Los Angeles this last week, the snow, there were still people skiing Mammoth heavily. There were boarders and skiers just going up and down. There was snow all the way past like Lone Pine, like the Pines, all those. Even south of that, there was still snow up on the mountains, on the Sierra, on the eastern side. So they got a lot of snow up there
Boy,
this
yeah.
year. Tons. Thank you.
You know, because of that report, I'm going to hold you responsible. I'm going to be in Mammoth all next week, and I don't even like being cold at all. I got a feeling it's going to be a long, cold week at night.
Bring lots of blankets, okay? Mammoth is, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous up there. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. But all the craggy, you know, everything that's in the Mammoth area, the, what's that, Devil's Post pile? Absolutely snowed in, gorgeous, crazy.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and report on this, on last meeting right now, the last NDOW meeting, because we had, and I do want to point one more thing too. We just had, the federal government has just opened up 1.3 or 4 million acres to sportsmen that has been closed off for many, many years. And it was just closed off. There was no valid reason for it. So I want to let you guys know that we're going to be seeing the results of that pretty soon, I think.
Can you like expand on that? Where is that at?
I don't know the areas, and I don't know the conditions. I know that it was under the previous administration that it was all closed off, and this administration opened it. And it's to sportsmen and fishermen.
That's
what
just
it-
across the country.
That's
you're saying.
across the
Okay.
country, a total of I believe it's 1.4 million acres that was closed off completely to sportsmen. So, okay, I'm gonna move on up to our last Department of Wildlife meeting, because that's where we set the quotas for this coming year. And it was very productive. Most of the areas had were cut back. And there were a lot of reasons for that. Most of them are the result of the fires we've had over the last couple of years. So I'll go through the ones that we got updated, and we actually had our areas, we have more tags. The one area that the junior program for mule deer, archery, muzzle loader, and any legal weapon, they wanted to cut to a total of 10. It's now 20. I had them raise it to 20, and it was, everything I asked for, I got. I hit on their hearts on this. I said, we're trying to get kids out into the open. Why in the world would you cut back on, from the number of tags they had? And all the heads bobbed yes on that one.
And that was for 194, 196?
192.
Oh, 192 only.
192 only. 194, 96 is still at 30,
Okay.
okay? Which is an increase because last year it was 25.
And just for the record on that, I went through all of the published results, and I'd say probably 90% of all those youth are right here in northern Nevada that got those tags. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And then on resident mule deer antlered, any legal weapon, in 192, we were increased from 30 to 35. 194, 196 is at 70. 195 is at 20.
So those remained unchanged.
Those, no, well,
192 is the only thing that changed, right?
no, 194 went up 10, but that was their recommendation, that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
On the resident mule deer antlered muzzle loader, 192 went from 7. I asked for 15, they gave it to us. 194, 96, they increased from 4 to 5. 195 was increased from 2 to 5.
That's great.
And on our mule deer antlered archery hunt, 192 early was increased from 10 to 25,
That's fantastic.
and increased from, and the late hunt from 15 to 20. 194 was increased from 10 to 15 on the early hunt, and 10 to 15 on the late hunt. And 195, actually, this was their recommendation, from 4 to 10. And that was all in our areas of interest and responsibility for the Carson Range.
Well, great job, Mr. Chair. If I may, just, those quotas are set. I don't know if you guys understand, the biologist that's in charge of that goes through and looks at all the different trends and stuff, and it's usually pretty difficult to get our quota is at the highest, right? And it's a very sought after area, but it was good that you were able to do that, especially for the archers. I know that they're a pretty vocal group here locally, and rightfully so. They've been cut back so much over the years that it's good that we were able to hopefully do something for them to help them feel better about hunting up here.
Yeah, our archers have a little bit of a different situation too than a lot of them. 192 and 194 are so hilly. If you're an archer and you're not willing to hike, your opportunities aren't very well. All of the flatland's privately owned and
Yeah, off limits.
off limits. So you've got to be pretty healthy. So they're willing to get out there on those hills. They ought to be entitled to try and harvest as many as possible, as long as it doesn't upset the balance. And I got Mike Scott assured me that we were within complete compliance with what the balance of the herds were, and so they were very amenable to all of the raises. So, anything else under the public comment section? If not, we'll move on to 4 for the approval of the minutes from our April 30th meeting. And that's just the one set of minutes, right, Tamar? Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And the motion carries. Minutes are approved. Update on, now we're at number 5, update and activity report on the Carson City Urban Wildlife Committee.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the only thing I have to report really on that is that we're starting to see a lot of deer and other wildlife come down into the city. That have been hibernating, especially. And so we've had multiple bear sightings, not just in the typical areas of Lakeview and Timberline, but and Kings Canyon, but all the way down into the valley areas. They had another bear down at the Capitol here. Wall session was going on, and I think it freaked some of our folks, new folks from Vegas, out a little bit. And then they've had issues with bears getting into dumpsters and stuff. And so, the department, I think, does a really good job at trying to make people bear aware. And now with the new contract for Carson City, where garbage collection is mandatory now as of July 1st, they've made bear containers and ones that are locking that more affordable for people that might be listening in. Certainly, if you feel like you're having an issue with that, you should go to Waste Management, and they can take care of that for you. So, other than that, ton of water, and it's been interesting watching all the songbirds and stuff. We had a big group of youth down at the Capitol, and we all went around and checked out the wild canaries that are all over the Capitol grounds right now. I don't know if you've seen that, but the yellow and red-breasted canaries and finches are all over the place down there. And so we've had some really fun times with some youth on some wildlife, especially bird watching stuff there at the Capitol. So that's all I have to report.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we've had a little more wildlife this year, and I think a lot of it is because of the long winter. I also saw a photograph just this afternoon of a good 400-pound bear out there just on the way to Genoa, walking across the road. So, and this was a big bear, and he didn't seem to be in any hurry. So, but when you get to be 400 pounds, you take your time.
That's right. You don't have much to worry about.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's how I feel.
Okay, now we're up to item number 6. This is the consent. We've got a bunch of things on here today. Some of them we may want to pull, and some we may not. So I'm going to read this, and then we'll see what we want to do with these. These are, for the most part, a big part of this meeting, NDOW meeting this weekend, and Hawthorne's going to be on the heritage budget and stuff. So that's what a lot of these have to do with. Anyway, consent agenda items. The items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the advisory board to manage wildlife with one action and without extensive hearing. A member of the advisory board may request an item be pulled for separate discussion and action, but the advisory board chair retains the discretion in deciding whether or not to pull an item from the consent agenda. For additional information on the items to be considered within this action, please visit the Department of Wildlife website, and it gives the link here for that. Do I have any items under 6A through I that anybody would like to pull?
Anybody? So I'd like to pull Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull for discussion, mainly discussion purposes. I don't have any disdain or any issues, but just so everybody's aware, item number 6, 6G as in George, and 6I as in igloo for discussion. I'm prepared to get into that when you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Vice Chair Beamer, was that 6G and 6I?
6G as in George,
Yeah, and 6I.
6I as in igloo.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know whether there were 2 or 3, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're going to pull those items, 6G and 6I. Do I need to take a motion on the rest of 6 without those, or should I wait until we discuss those?
we can approve the other ones now and if you want.
Well, you said you were just going to discuss them.
Yeah,
Let's go
it's not
ahead and
gonna be-
discuss them and then approve.
I'm certain that we're going to be in favor of everything, so.
Okay, let's move on to 6G then. Member Palmer?
So 6G is, of course, our annual setting of bag limits and seasons for upland game birds. And I'm hoping that everybody, I just want to point out that I did have a chance to discuss with a few of the biologists just briefly. I didn't take a ton of time on this, but mainly wanted to know what was the reason for, and they alluded to it a little bit in the synopsis that they gave, but mainly all of the reductions are really from them taking certain units out of the hunt are mainly because of all the wildfires we had last year. And so there's a substantial wildlife, habitat restoration going on currently, and they believe that, we've seen this before. Hasn't been anything that is out of the ordinary. We did burn more acres last year, I think, than I think we set a record actually, and so the majority of this was because of habitat restoration, which I completely sustain. I think that they're managing this real well. With regard to the turkeys, turkey quotas all seem to, the majority of them started dropping. Up in Elko County, they dropped the quota down from 12 to 10, or they're recommending that. And then down at Mason Valley, which I thought was a little bit more closer to us, where a lot of our sportsmen tend to, if they want to go turkey hunting, they tend to go down there in Lyon County. They decreased those as well, and they are attributing that to predators getting them. So they are, I don't know if you guys saw, but it looks like there's going to be a turkey plant in the in the Mason Valley Wildlife Management Area. Plus they're introducing Miriams up in the Ruby Mountains, which is kind of cool. I mean, we have had Miriams here, they just haven't sustained. And so they're going to try it again, which is really neat to have those two species in here. The other thing that I thought was interesting was the department has broken up blue grouse into two subspecies, which is appropriate. Subspecies that we're used to seeing here in the Sierra Front is a I forget the name of it now, but is kind of what is the most common, right, across the country, if you will. And the ones that they are finding over on the eastern side, over in White Pine and Lincoln County, are shared with Utah, and those are the dusky grouse, and which is a form of blue grouse. Really cool plumage and very, very like a light gray, light blue plumage. I think prettier than the species that we have up here. I think they're called the sooty, I think is what they're called up here. And so they thought that was neat. They're going to actually do this cooperation with Utah to try and introduce more of that subspecies into the state of Nevada, which as of yet, we really haven't ever done that, right? It's something new for the state, which I thought was pretty cool. And then they're also paying attention to mountain quail, and if you saw, there were some funds that were out of the upland game bird stamp being allocated to introductions of mountain quail in certain regions as well, which is pretty cool. Mountain quail is, of course, the largest species of quail in the genus, and we have multiple areas here in Nevada that have them, and you can actively hunt them too. So just wanted to point those things out and just help so that the board knew kind of where their take was on that. I kind of get a little interested in that kind of stuff when we start seeing quotas dropping and stuff. We want to typically find out what's going on there. So I'm prepared to support what they're recommending here for 6G, if that's the pleasure of the board. I think that the biologists certainly have done a great job at determining that and determining the carrying capacity of these upland game birds. And so I would certainly be prepared to move to support that along with the other ones. With 6I, that is our budget. And I know, Kirk, you were here last year when we set our budget, and we approved our budget. This is what is going to go in front of the commission, and you'll notice that we are pretty much at the same, I think, as we were last year, right? Nothing's changed.
Yes, nothing's
which is good. Just know that, we set this, and if we don't use it, because this is a base year, right? If we don't use it the following year, it goes down they take it away, right? So, and then the following year, usually that's going to be the recommendation, unless we can justify, having them increase it back up or whatever. So, it's all predicated on the base year budget and so, make sure that, I just want to reiterate, if we do any travel for the cab, make sure that you're keeping track of that and that you're submitting receipts for reimbursement, regardless of whether you want it or not. We need to be able to show how much it really costs to be able to operate this county advisory board, right? And that's just good budget management, man. Some people would argue, oh, you need to save money for taxpayers and stuff, but that money's already been allocated to these programs, and the majority of it, comes from not general funds, but Pittman Robinson funds and other avenues that we utilize. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. Just remind everybody that there is a reimbursement form, and if you need that, contact Gene or myself, or you can contact Gil Yannick and he can get it for you. Or I think Kathy. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Kathy. The gal who took Suzanne's place at Department of Wildlife, they have those forms. So reach out to one of us. We'll get it to you and get it approved.
They also have them down at the brick building in the
Okay.
treasurer's office. And it's very easy to fill out. And I'll tell you, one of the nice things about our city compared to others, I turn in my travel form and I mean, they print checks twice a week. And it never takes
quick.
more than 4 days.
Yeah.
They are very, very fast. So you're not waiting for 6 weeks like they are at some of the cabs, just to get the paperwork done. And Gil is right on top of things. I can show you how to fill it. Rob can show you how to fill it out. It's very easy. We have, it tells you how much you get per mile, and, it's just a simple form. And you turn it into city office and get your money back very quickly. Okay, with that said, do we have a motion to approve and support item number 6, A through I?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve 6A through 6I.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Just real quick, if we could just amend the motion to state that we are all in support of what's being recommended. Because some of those are, anytime there's quotas, right, we want to make sure that's in
Yeah.
there. You guys good with that?
Accept and support, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. Any opposed, say accept and support. Okay, moving on to number 7. This is a non-regulatory agenda items. Other than those items listed under the cab consent agenda item number 6, the remaining items on the attached June 20th and 22nd Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners agenda typically require no action of the Carson City Advisory Board to manage wildlife. Occasionally, one or more advisory board members may have a desire to discuss these items, and such discussion may result in action in the form of advice or a recommendation by the advisory board to the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners. There will be no public comment unless action will be taken on an item. We have these items 7A through C. Do we want to pull any of those items, or do we want for discussion?
The three items, the three agenda items on the different armed forces areas, if
The
you will.
testing
Yeah, testing
range,
sites
training
and
range,
stuff.
yes.
I went through those flyers. I still don't know. I don't know. Did you guys gather what the purpose of that was? I mean, are they just trying to show us what they are doing to improve wildlife habitat? I don't know. I mean, it wasn't real explicit in that, you know?
I looked at some of that too, and I was very confused. It's almost like hunt at your own peril,
Yeah.
because we may be dropping bombs, and we don't have to let you know ahead of time if you're in that range.
Yeah. And that's
Kind of the impression I
And that's
got.
typically like if you pull a desert bighorn tag or something, that the meeting you're required to go to, they pretty much say, listen, you enter at your own risk, and
Yeah,
if we drop a bomb on you, too bad, so sad, right? And and so just pay attention, get down if you if you see a plane coming, right? And so I'm
That's
still
what
a
I
little
got
bit perplexed. I think they're going to report on that on the second day, right?
yeah, this would be a second day,
Yeah. So
because it'll go along with the Heritage Committee report.
right. Well, you won't be there the second day,
No, but Gil will, and I'll let him know.
maybe we can get a report from him what that
Yeah.
was all about. I'm
Okay.
interested to hear about that. If you're prepared for a motion, I'd be prepared to move that we that we are in support of what the recommendations are for the items here that they're making recommendations on, mainly item 7B and 7C.
Okay, any other discussion, gentlemen? So you're saying, okay, we get a report from Gil on 7A,
And then
Just an
7B,
update, and then
7C and
support
B and C we
B and
would
C.
support.
okay, let's,
I mean, I don't think there's anything to support on 7A, really. I don't think they're asking for really us to sustain anything. I think it's mainly informational.
yeah, and the Heritage Program is just a tremendous program in this state, and it too can be extremely complex. But without it, there's a lot of what happens out there that wouldn't get done because the funds come from huge amount of donations and,
Did any of you guys did you guys take a look at what some of these entities are getting in past years for some of these tags? Reno Bighorns, Nevada Bighorns in Reno, that chapter, holy heck, man, those guys rake in the dough, and big portion of that goes back towards the Heritage Fund and improving habitat. And I think it's a great deal that what Nevada does with that, and letting these GSOs or GFOs go out and raffle off these tags. People are willing to pay big money for them. Some people disagree with that. Some people think that, they shouldn't do that, that's you're raffling off our resources. But man, it's a great source of income and revenue for us to do a lot of these projects, so.
and not only that, but people that, and we've all been in discussions with people that think that, and they don't realize the amount of effort that's put into the management of the resources. We're constantly improving our resources, not diminishing them. Wildfires do more damage than any of our programs.
Yeah, for sure.
we continue to grow with our programs, and I wish the public understood that. So, okay, I have a motion from Mr. Bomer. I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, for possible action, discussion, actions. This is for the action regarding the advisory board member commitments for the June 21st and 22nd Wildlife Commission meeting in Hawthorne and the August 9th and 10th Wildlife Commission meeting in Ely. I intend to go down Friday and Gil will be there Saturday. Would anybody else like to go? And I'm speaking of Hawthorne right now, on the 21st and 22nd.
I'll be out of town. I'll
Yeah.
go.
I'm out of town.
Okay. How about in August in Ely? I can go to that also, but I would yield to anybody else that wants to drive to the eastern side of the state. I like Ely. I'm very comfortable in that town. We have,
I may possibly be able to make the Ely one, if a couple of things work out.
And I think
So,
I'm looking at my calendar, I would be able to go as well if, certainly I, for those of us that work, of course, right?
You
Those of
looking
us
at
that
me?
Work, no, I'm looking at Kirk, and Mike, those of us that have real jobs and,
That aren't retired yet, yes.
yeah. Certainly if, I would totally concede to Mr. Green, or Chairman Green, you attending that if you wanted to do so. I know you kind of have been carrying the brunt of this board over the last year, partially because, session was in and there's just no way I can commit to those kind of things. But I certainly don't want to take advantage of that. And if you need a break, by all means, I'm happy to be that person to go. But if you want to go down there, I'm totally good letting you do that.
we have a over a month and a half to decide. I like Ely. We have relatives there. It's not a big deal for me to go to Ely at all. But life is life too. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
And because I can go as it is now. I know, do either one of you hunt in that area?
I will be there during that time.
Yeah, so that's all, so,
You'll be hunting during that time? Yeah.
but you might not want to set in a meeting,
Exactly.
but you might meet there in the evening for dinner.
Yeah.
So we'll get that one settled, and then Friday I'll go down to Hawthorne and Gil will be there. Gil, by the way, Gil is still the chair of the Finance Committee, and so he's an extremely valuable resource there. His commitments are still valid to Carson City and the Wildlife Commission, so he's a very valuable resource, and it's nice to have him available to us. And when it comes to the finance stuff, he's got little numbers running around in his head all the time. So, okay, moving on to number 9, information, future agenda items. Do we have any?
Any future agenda items? Anybody?
Nope.
None that I have right now.
Okay, public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment and discuss any matter that is relevant or within the authority of the Carson City Advisory Board to manage wildlife, including any matter that is not specifically included in the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item on the agenda. Mr. Bailey.
Shouldn't be any problem with that. As far as Mr. Yannick is concerned, the man has been working with this organization, with Endow and Wildlife, for at least the 25 years that I've known him. The man is just insatiable. He's a phenomenon, and just a man of integrity. As far as bear and bear-proof when you talked about waste management, they have a new dumpster, if you will, that is like their normal, about the same size as their normal,
5-gallon, yeah.
is that what that is, 95 gallon? And it is built like a tank, and it's all plastic, and there's no such thing as bear-proof, but this thing looks better than, and probably less expensive to operate than the metal containers. It requires thumb and index finger to turn a knob, and that will unlock it. And there's no other way to get to it. A bear cannot get into it. And as far as strength, it is a phenomenal piece of equipment. If there's anyone out there or yourselves that are interested in a bear-resistant proof receptacle, definitely recommend it. I got over there and got to see it myself, and it is a real piece of work. As well, next, could that bird that you were thinking of, Vice Chair Beamer, was that a ptarmigan by chance?
No, we don't have ptarmigan in the state of Nevada.
Oh,
The closest thing to that would be the Himalayan snowcock, which is
okay.
in the Humboldt and Ruby Mountains only, and is the largest grouse species in the world, right? So,
Yeah.
but they've changed their plumage and they molt just like a ptarmigan, but they're not under the same. I mean, they're not the same species, right? They're
Okay.
different. So the two species, the subspecies of blue grouse are the sooty and the what did I say? Yeah, dusky. The sooty and
the
dusky
dusky.
grouse. Yeah, pretty cool.
And then there, finally, NBU. Without that organization, I believe there may not be a bighorn sheep in the state of Nevada without that organization. It is a phenomenon. Larry and group have been doing this thing for seemingly like decades, and they're just very focused on it. And all the guzzlers, things like that they do, the helicopter takes and drops, they're a phenomenon.
And I will just add to that, the support for the Operation Game Thief program that they provide is off the hook, man. I mean, anytime we have an issue where we are trying to gather information on a case, they are always the first group to come to the table with big money to try and figure out, especially if it's something that involves one of our trophy game species that we have here in the state. So my hat's off to them. I appreciate your comments there, Mr. Bailey.
Well, there would be no Bailey Pond without them.
Yeah.
So it's not just bighorn sheep, okay? Although that would be phenomenon, but they're very much into the kids and the youth, getting them into it. They get it.
Yeah, Mason Ortiz, that whole event
There you go.
they're one of the biggest contributors to that. And they're on, I forget what year they're on this year, but it's crazy what that event does for youth in our northern Nevada area. They're the model program across the country for wildlife identification and outdoor skills.
Yes, it's an honor to
pretty-
be
pretty
around
amazing.
any of these nice folks from NBU. They're absolute sweethearts. Thank you.
I'd like to say too, every time I have driven by Bailey Pond for the last 3 months, there've been probably a half dozen cars there. It's been very busy this year out there, and that's a testament to you and the other people that are helping support it, just in the community. See, it's fun to see the kids out there on fishing.
That's where you got to get them, man. Got to get them when they're young. And that's the Nevada Department of Wildlife and Carson City in a partnership. It's a beautiful thing.
Good deal. If I may, Mr. Chair, I do have one item that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. I'm not sure whether everybody realizes this or not, but state of Nevada has been chosen to be the site to host the International Wildlife Crime Stoppers Conference. It's going to be held up at Mont Bleu, up in Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, and that would be on July the I think it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th, I believe. Kirk, am I off on that?
I thought it was, I believe it's, because the
Shoots on-
Sporting Clays shoots the 13th,
That following week, right?
and then it's, I think, the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah. So it's that following week, I think it starts on Sunday and then goes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I believe, or Monday and Tuesday, I think.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I
Yeah.
think.
So just a little bit on Wildlife Crime Stoppers. That is the International Operation Game Thief program. And when I say international, it certainly is all throughout North America, but other countries have adopted it as well because and anybody that gets convicted of poaching in another state, they have created a database that different departments throughout the United States can access to see if those people have had priors, and they've been a huge coordination piece for solving poaching cases and bringing wildlife violators to justice, right? And so I just wanted to, I know Kirk alluded to it, but they're going to be doing a fundraising sporting clay shoot at Capital City Gun Club on Saturday the 13th. The Nevada Operation Game Thief Citizens Board will be posting the lunch for that, which will be amazing. It's going to be tri-tip, and we're cooking a big pan of paella, and we'll have all the fixings that go along with that, and you'll eat well, and you'll get to shoot some great sporting clays. If you're interested in joining, you can reach out to Brian Eller he's the captain in charge of the Operation Game Thief. He's the coordinator for Operation Game Thief for the state, and he has sign-up sheets, and then I have some at my office as well that I'm happy to provide to anybody. And put a team together, come out, shoot, eat a good meal. They're going to have some great raffle prizes. We have gotten them some good ones, and be a great day to raise some money for wildlife crime stopping, and for the Nevada Operation Game Thief program does receive a portion of that those proceeds. So because we're the ones hosting it, so I think it's a great opportunity. And if you want to know any more about the Operation Game Thief program and how it works in coordination with the International Wildlife Crime Stoppers, that conference, it's open to the public. So, I mean, anybody can go to it. You learn a ton. All the folks from Northwoods Law, the main boys will all be there, the game wardens. You can meet them, which is kind of cool. They're going to be helping us cook on Saturday. So you get to meet all those guys that you see on TV on that show, and good group of fellas. And I would just encourage, if anybody's listening or whatever, or anybody in the board, if you guys want to participate in that, I'm happy to help you get on board with that. So with that, I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And that is, we've had this last couple of years, a couple of pretty major issues with poachers that were caught. And the public has been involved, and Crime Stoppers has been involved, and it's, especially when these people hop back and forth across the state lines. Without that sort of assistance, we wouldn't be able to catch them at all. And because I know we caught the one couple of guys from Idaho, and then we just caught one from, I think it was Utah. And it's the state's one of those states, and the people work together, it works, and poachers help nobody.
don't.
Absolutely nobody.
Some people say, "Oh, these darn hunters," well, hunters are not poachers.
No.
Right? Hunters are ethical, good people that are out there to conserve our habitat and our wildlife, right? And so I will say that our state has the judges and the the DAs in our state, for the most part, all of them have seen the light. And these guys are on board, and I tell you, they are throwing the book at these folks that feel like they can go and steal our wildlife resources. That costs you and I as taxpayers, an elk, for example, costs you and I as taxpayers right at about $10,000 to $12,000. And if it's a trophy elk, that can go all the way up to 100 grand. So, I mean, that's a huge theft, if you will, from you and I as citizens of this state and residents of this state. And I will tell you, our Department of Wildlife, although their staff their game wardens are few, man. They got a lot of area to cover. They are at, I believe, still at capacity. You know, they've filled all the positions, I believe. And that's pretty rare that happens. And I don't know how long it's going to stay that way, but I will tell you that these guys and gals that work in that capacity are out and they are hitting the bush every day and they're catching people that are doing things they shouldn't be doing. And my hat's off to them. I think that they do a great job.
They need a lot more acclaim. I think, now, I used to be involved in law enforcement, Kirk is. One of the biggest problems in law enforcement for any group is domestics. And the rangers, unfortunately, when they have a domestic dispute issue, they're usually 2 or 3 hours from their nearest backup. And it almost always involves live weapons and alcohol. So it puts them in a very bad spot.
Yeah.
They have to be diplomatic and good at their job, so.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any more public? I see none?
I just wanted to let you know that for August 6th and September 17th, this room is booked for our meeting on Tuesday, August 6th and September 17th.
Do we have any other options?
You had decided to have meetings on Tuesday, so I can look into it.
Yes, would you, and let us know?
What
'Cause
days would you prefer?
I think we all prefer Tuesdays simply because of work
Oh,
schedules.
no, I booked it for you.
Are booked. Okay, I
Yeah,
thought,
they're booked for you.
thank you.
Oh, so we are gonna have it in.
You can have them here.
I mean, do we like get trumped if somebody comes along, like say,
No, what happens is, most committees that happen monthly, they book it for like the whole year. And then, if they cancel it, we get it. But these 2 days, we didn't even have meetings, so.
Okay.
And in October, we're on standby.
Well, I misunderstood what you were saying then.
Oh, I
thought you
was
meant
like
it
shocked. I was wondering why
somebody
you
else
didn't
had
want
it
this
already
room.
booked.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know why you didn't want this room.
Yes, we
were
do.
just speaking Greek.
These chairs are better.
Okay, so you are here for the
Okay,
next 2
thank you.
meetings.
Next motion for possible action is adjournment. Do I have a first,
so moved?
second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.